What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Tide Talk, the fan created podcast talking all things Rhode Island FC. We're back in the away end tonight to preview Rhode Island FC's upcoming match against the Oakland Roots this Saturday at Burns Stadium. Each episode is available on YouTube, and if you're watching now, please take a second to hit that subscribe button and give this episode a thumbs up. You can also find us on your favorite podcast applications like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you listen there, we'd really appreciate it if you took a minute to leave us a 5-star rating and a short review, as it helps more people find our podcast. If you're not already using the RIFC Club Collector app, make sure you click the link in the episode description and type in the code TIETALK, all one word, lowercase, to get a free pack to add to your collection. My name is Ryan, and I will be stepping in as your host today in place of Matt. He had a concert to go to, but fear not, the tide rolls on. And as this is a weigh-in episode, I am joined by our very special guest, Jonathan from the Roots blog. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining today. How are you doing?
Yeah, thanks for asking me to come on. Yeah, really excited. I got to go back and tell the guys that I do our podcast with to take a look at your intro there. That was nice, man. You had the song, got the video. I'm gonna take some notes back to our guys, and they're probably gonna send it right back to me, and they'll say, "You do it then."
Well, we really, really appreciate it. So, Jonathan, I was really, really excited about this. We have historically had a lot of video and audio content creators on the show, and with us in Tide Talk, this is like a shameless plug in disguise. Starting to growing blogging presence. This is really cool to have someone who has really an established blog that provides such good content for your team. So, could you tell us a bit about your blog and your experience kind of growing that so far?
Yeah, we our website is Oakland Roots blog, www.oaklandrootsblog.com, and it started in 2021 during our first season in the USL Championship. So I didn't decide to join on. A couple other guys made it. Aaron and Peter, they started the page, and it was after a few games that I decided to join too. I'm more of a traditional journalist. I do a lot of like prep sports here in the Bay Area. And when they started, and I recognized that there was no one covering Oakland Roots in our media, in particular after a game went awry against Sacramento, where the game was canceled like 10 minutes before the kickoff because our field was unfit. We didn't have anybody telling our side of the story. So I was like, why not me? And from then on, we've grown since then. I'll write about the matches. I'll do a interview with the coach after the game, do write-ups, but also further than that, I've started, breaking reports, like player signings, or the big one that we had was when Juan Guerra, our former coach, was fired or put on administrative leave because he was talking to Phoenix. I broke that report.
Ooh, okay.
It's still our best post on the website. So just the blog has grown since then, and I think when it comes to Oakland Roots news, Oakland Soul news, we're the first site people go to, and we've worked hard to be that.
That's awesome. That's some like big J journalism right there. Get some inside sources. I love that.
Man, it was fun. It was a fun day. Yeah, breaking that Juan Guerra report. But there's been other ones since then, like player signings. The club doesn't really like it when I break the player signings, so we've worked it so I talk to them and
Cool.
get some insight to the player, so I'm not stepping on toes. So I mean, it's fun. It's been a learning process ever since that first post. So it's continuously changing, but it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, and everybody, if you're watching and you want to check out more Oakland Roots content, definitely check out the blog there. It's really jam packed full of stuff. We've been checking out, especially the past few days, knowing you were coming on, and like especially the blogging team over at Tide Talk is very, very, very impressed, and might have a little bit of inspiration there coming. But
I love that. I love
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so before to break the away end format, obviously there's been some breaking news about the Oakland Roots and the fact that you'll be playing at the Coliseum next year. I know you wrote a really great post about it, but could you give our fans a little bit of an insight into like how the Oakland support is taking it and how the Roots blog team is taking it?
Yeah, so the Coliseum has been in the works ever since November of last year. So As someone on the inside, so to speak, I've been expecting the Coliseum to be announced ever since they announced that they were eyeing it. I was like, okay, you only announce that if you are very confident that you could um get in there and
Mhm.
start playing. And yeah, so it was expected from me. I mean, back in March, it's kind of funny that when there was a town hall and the club got a 6-0 unanimous approval, the Chronicle, even the mayor went online and were like, "It's a done deal. They're playing there." That was in March, and now however many months later, now it's official. So a lot of people, like when I even teased it on a post game write up, they're like, "What do you mean? What's happening on Monday?" I'm like, "Oh, hush, hush." This is they're like, "Oh, I thought it was a player. I thought that was done already." Like,
Yep. Yeah, it's funny. We like this isn't one of the technical questions we always ask on the away end, but like I feel like half of them there's like some kind of stadium drama or something going on. So we might as well make it an official segment of like what's going on with your stadium in the USL. No, but that's great to see. You guys will have like like a bigger home. You can have more people there, and to see that decision finally get through officially. So
mhm. Yeah, well,
cool.
yeah, I think it allows Oakland Roots to see what their peak
Mhm.
attendance could be. I know
I
that the
think I saw it
record.
was like 15,000 or so.
Yeah, they're going to aim for 15,000, but I think that first game in particular, they're going to aim for higher. I think they're definitely going to be aiming for a USL championship record, which would be like 22,000 something
Wow.
or other. So I think they'll be able to do it. I think they'll have a big marketing budget to be able to do that. So much of a marketing budget that I wish that budget was spent towards like one or two players,
Yeah.
but that's just me. And I see you have a question here. It sees roots are very feast or famine, and yeah, it's been like that so much that they're making great marks with the payroll that they have, and even the top end of the payroll isn't even playing that much. Brian Tamakis right now is on the bench, who got beat for a roster spot from
Mhm.
Memo Diaz, who leads the team in assists. I think that is a gutsy call from the new coach. I'm sure we could dive more into that in a little bit, but um yeah, we're going into the last couple months of the season here, and it's interesting parallels
Yeah.
between this season and last season.
Yeah, it's great. And yeah, thanks, Evan, for the question in the chat. Yeah. So kind of like segueing there, like taking a look at Oakland season so far. So you guys currently sit fourth in the Western Conference on 35 points. You have a very crazy record of 11 wins, 2 draws, and 10 losses. We're basically the opposite. All we love draws. Like we have plenty to give away. But you also have a really weird, like a -7 goal differential, which I started looking through like game by game, and it's like I find it very misleading. Like most of your games are very, very tight, and then you have like a couple of just unfortunate losses, like the 5-0 to Pittsburgh. So, like, how has the season gone so far? I mean, you're sitting in a home playoff spot so far. A couple weird good wins, a couple weird losses. So, how's Oakland feeling about it?
Well, I think the vibes are very high right now. I mean, we're in third place. But to hark this back to the beginning of the season, we were under a different coach, Noah Delgado, who started the season on the hot seat.
Mhm.
We ended last season on a 2-month winless streak from August through the end of the season, when we were in third place with 11 games to go, much like right
I was
now.
gonna say, sounds familiar.
And then they didn't win a game for for the rest of the season. They went from third to 10th. So right now we fired a coach after 9 games and put into the interim head coach role his first assistant, Gavin Glinton, which was an interesting choice. There were some people like, oh, just hire a coach right away, like El Paso did with Walmer Martinez. And instead, they hired his first assistant. Well, since then, Gavin has changed a lot of things. He's ended a lot of streaks. Roots, before he came into the job, I think at the last 19 home games, they were 2 wins and 17 losses. Like, it was terrible. And since Gavin took over, he has 5 wins. I don't think he's lost at home yet. So it's been a big culture change, and like I mentioned there, he had the guts to look at Brian Tamakis, who is the number 2 highest paid player on the team, and say, you're going to the bench. You're not performing for me. I think that a thing with Gavin Glinton is you have to practice hard, and if you practice hard, you're going to play. And I think some people at the top end haven't been practicing hard. We have another guy who is our number 1 person on the payroll, Dom Dwyer.
Yep.
Dwyer got held out of the lineup the last game. So I think what that says, the coach has the guts to say, if you're not showing it in practice, I'm not going to play you. It's worked so far.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a very up and down season. Well, down then up.
Yeah.
So now we're going into this last 11 games, kind of, with our eye on last year, knowing what happened, and seeing what can change. And the thing there is Gavin was a part of that coaching staff. So he knows what went wrong. So it gives him an interesting perspective. I'm looking forward to seeing how these last games go.
For sure. I'm a huge sucker for any kind of like culture story like that. Like, I absolutely love it. So really cool to see that he installed things maybe his way, maybe some things he might have disagreed with. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how, this kind of run in, if you want to call it, is different than last year. Question from the chat actually for you. So you can phrase it however you want to phrase it, but is Dwyer washed, or is he just kind of struggling to adapt to the USL, do you think?
It's interesting because he has appeared, and when he comes in, he makes some interesting things happen. Back heel flicks. He's hit the crossbar a couple times. So I don't think it's much that he's washed. I just think that he is not practicing well. And I think that Gavin is the type of guy who is not going to overly change things for a guy who can't start yet. I think that what I've heard from members of the training staff is he can't play more than 60 minutes. And we have a guy, Johnny Rodriguez, who has 10 goals. He's in the middle of a career year. Is he going to unseat that, or is he just a super sub, which I'm fine with? I love a super sub, but it's interesting to see because he got left out of the lineup in the last win, and that was a coach's decision, I was told.
Okay.
So what does that mean going forward?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great segue. So, Natesky, I hope you heard that in the chat. That was your super sub there. But yeah, can you talk about 3 players to watch for people who might not have watched a lot of Oakland Roots this year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our 3 players to watch. I mean, the first 2 go hand in hand. It's Johnny Rodriguez and Memo Diaz. Johnny Rodriguez has 10 goals, 3 assists. He's already tied last year's goal contributions in about 400 less minutes. Memo Diaz has, I mean, the 2 have connected for their past like 5 goals combined. It's pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. But Memo Diaz has a goal and 5 assists. I think almost all of them have gone to Johnny. But he has already matched his assist total from last year. Needs 1 more for a career high in about 1,200 less minutes or so. So those 2, I mean, if our offense is clicking, those 2 are probably going to connect. 1 more, I would say, who has really propelled how this team plays, our center back, Gagi Margvelashvili. I think I got that last name.
You attempted
right?
It nicely.
I think I got it. Yeah. Not too many Georgians in the USL, but yeah. So he has really taken that center back role and has showed that defense can become offense. He steps up into the midfielder as a midfielder, really marauds forward and can change possession, but also play some passes. He was had 2 assists in the last game. One of them might have been a goal, but he's been a really big factor towards this team's success. One more bonus one would be Cam Riley, plays in the midfielder and does a lot of that similar thing where he's going to force turnovers, make defense, and turn into offense.
Awesome. And I know you just mentioned Dwyer as potential super sub, but is there anyone else who has kind of stood out as a super sub throughout the year?
Well, right now, just based on off the last game, who I think we can expect to make a difference off the bench is Trayvon Reed. He is a winger. He's probably the fastest player on the team, but he is a raw talent. He shows a lot of glimpses, but just can't put the finishing touch away. He had a beautiful goal in this last game where he was fed a pass forward from Gagi, was isolated one-on-one. He's great when isolated one-on-one, takes a touch inside and just wraps his right foot around the ball to where it's like that shot is going in against anybody in any league. You know, he put it just bullseye and with a lot of heat on the ball. And it's like, man, if you could do that, like every game, like you're going places, man. But he just can't seem to put it 2 plays in a row. So he's someone to watch off the bench. He's young. Hopefully he can still carve something out.
Yeah, I'm a real sucker for that like one-on-one super quick winger who can like cut inside, and I don't think we have much of that right now, but definitely something hopefully, you know, transfer window or off season we can keep an eye on. But yeah, so before we jump into the match itself, just want to check in. How is the traveling support for Oakland usually?
Oh, we travel really, really well. I don't think a lot of people are going all the way across the country to Rhode Island.
It's a tough trip, yeah.
For this one, but in terms of all these Western teams, I put Roots at the top, and that's Sacramento included. Like Sacramento does not, their fans do not come out to Roots games. Like Roots fans go out to Sacramento games. Like
I know we have William Lamb in the chat who's a Sacramento fan, so I love to hear that.
I mean, there is a saying that Roots fans have been telling each other, and it's like we don't know if Sac fans think about us like we think about them, but we like Roots fans are dedicated to making them hate us. Like
yeah, there he is in the chat.
We do not like Sacramento, but we travel pretty well. You know, people are going to Vegas. People pretty much go to Phoenix, but the Monterey and the Sacramento away games, Roots fans show out, and there's been, you know, like a few hundred that go out to each of these. So it's a lot of fun. You can't miss Sac away as a Roots fan.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have our little budding rivalry with Hartford right now, and yeah, we sent like a bunch of people down to Hartford match. They brought a bus up here, so yeah, I love these like little, not little, but these like tight rivalries that are kind of budding across the USL because it just makes the game a lot more fun and the atmosphere really lively, which is cool. Yeah, so as we look at to the match itself, and by the way, if you are an Oakland Roots fan watching this and you do come out to the game, definitely swing by the Defiance 1636 tailgate. It's right outside Gate C. You'll see a giant flag on like a Jeep with like the supporters group logo. Love to welcome you with open arms. You know, before, like we say, before and after the match, we're all friends. You know, during the match, you guys will do your thing. So definitely more than welcome with us. But yeah, as we start to look in the match, and if you are watching, please get your score predictions in the chat. We'll get to that soon. What do you think will take place for Oakland to bring all 3 points back home on your flight?
Well, looking at your guys' schedule, you know, I don't watch Rhode Island a lot, but
that's fair.
I haven't watched.
You're a busy guy. I get
it. you look at their score lines, and it's a little daunting. You guys put up goals in bunches. I think you guys have 3 goals or multiple goals in like 7 of the last like 9 games. Like it's a little staggering. So I think if things are going well for Oakland, they are not letting those clear shots happen. They are limiting the clear opportunities. They're not letting them get 3 goals on the board. If Rhode Island gets 3 goals, we are not coming back. Okay. This team has scored over 4 goals, I think 3 times in its existence. They've never had 5. We are not a goal scoring organization. but if Roots are winning, I think they are playing great defense. They're forcing turnovers at the midfield line or maybe a little bit before it and creating more of the opportunities that we've seen in these last couple of games. Like the last couple of games they've had, I don't even think like much more than 40% of the ball. Mm-hmm. So they're showing that they're fine with the other team controlling the pace, dictating the pace, but if they can get a foot on it, around the midfield line, they can force some dangerous chances. So if it's going well, I don't think Rhode Island's taking a lot of shots on net. If anything, they're going, there might be a lot of shot opportunities, but nothing going clear on net. So, yeah, I would say that's going to be a key.
That's really interesting you mentioned possession like that, because one of the big changes to us actually having this like offensive boom is us actually having the ball less, and creating
Mhm.
chances kind of against like unsettled defenses versus trying to like, create something out of nothing a ton and just carrying possession. So that'll be an interesting like stylistic battle. We've talked about that a lot lately. Like North Carolina plays like that. Even Hartford, like we knew they were
Mhm.
going to want a lot of the ball. So yeah, we'll have to see who can kind of give the ball to their team more, I guess is it's a weird way to talk about the game. But
Mhm.
so let's say Rhode Island, I think you kind of answered this with your last one, but if Rhode Island were to keep the 3 points here, what do you think might take place in the game?
Well, I think that Roots attack has just disappeared sometimes, and I think if it's one of those games again, it definitely sign that things are going Rhode Island's way. They're not generating those chances. Rhode Island's getting in behind often. Um, when Roots can't force that turnover at midfield and the balls are getting behind, that's when they've been really vulnerable. We saw that in the 5-goal game with Pittsburgh and the 5-goal game against Sacramento. It's like when they were coming in playing relatively well, and then Pittsburgh and Sacramento just found the holes and they couldn't figure it out. So um I would say that's how they're doing it. They're finding those through passes, they're breaking the lines, getting past that midfield, getting past that mid block. I would say that's things are going Rhode Island's way if that's happening.
Perfect. All right, everybody. So we have made it to the big moment, score predictions. So Jonathan, I'll let you decide. You're the guest here. Do you want to go first? Or you want to go second?
I'll go first. And I'll warn with this: we have a score prediction on our blog. I have never ever predicted Roots to do anything but win.
Love it. That's good. That's good blogging right there. I love it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with a 2-1 Roots victory.
Perfect. All right. So I'm going to read a couple in the chat first. So we have Evan. I'm basing my prediction based on form and the fact that Oakland has to come across the country. My prediction is 3-1 RIFC. William Lamb, again, Sacramento fan. My score prediction is 2-2 draw, closely compared to Rhode Island's play against Sacramento a few months ago. That was a very interesting game. Andrew Quadros, 2-0 RIFC, donuts for all. Yes, Rhode Island FC does do donuts for shutouts, apparently. Tips for Jim. If Stoneman and Nodarse keep form, we'll take them 2-1. Too much respect for Roots to call it a blowout. Totally agree. Tim Sheldon has it 2-2. Matt Hands with the 2-1 RIFC. And again, a shameless plug. Matt wrote a great preview blog for the match on TideTalkRI.com today. So check that out. And he was consistent, which would have been very funny if he wasn't. So for me, I am also going to go 2-1. And similar to what someone said, I am concerned about the travel. You guys haven't come all the way to the East Coast a ton, but you did get a 2-1 win in Miami, which I don't know if that even counts as a full win. You might only get 2 points or so for that. And then the 5-0 loss to Pittsburgh. So it's a tough one, though. You guys are third in the West in away record. You have a pretty similar goals per game and goals conceded per game, when you are playing away. So you're definitely not anyone who lies down. I think the big thing is, like, can we shut down the duo of Rodriguez and Diaz? I mean, they seem like you're kind of like 1-2 punch there up front. So if we can, I don't want to say even shut them down. I think if we can stifle them enough, hopefully we can score enough goals to keep it there. So I'm going 2-1 Rhode Island FC there. Perfect. So before we close out here, I actually saw a great question to start the show. Where is it from Nate? Can you just talk about your coverage of the Soul beyond the Roots, obviously?
Yeah, the Soul. Yeah, I try to do the same thing with them. So
So not
they
predict
are.
losses is what you're saying?
Nah, I never
Yeah.
predict losses. Never predict losses. But they're a really talented team. Here in Northern California, we have just flat out one of the best prep club level talent pools anywhere in this country. You
Mhm.
know, there are so many high level girls soccer camps, girls soccer clubs that Seoul has pretty much the picking from all of them, and they in the couple of short years have become, you know, a contender in the W League. And with the Coliseum, this is another very, very important factor for Seoul, because once they get the Coliseum or a place that has adequate seating, they can bump up to the USL Super League,
Yes.
which would make them Division 1 status, and then also, you know, professional
Mhm.
play pay the players, you know,
Yes.
that's the goal for all of this. So, you know, it's interesting to see. I think that the Coliseum is going to come through with them. They were not a part of the announcement with the Coliseum. The Roots were only a part of the announcement. And from my understanding, is that the transfer of land and power has to happen. It's a whole bunch of
I'm
bureaucratic
sure.
mess here in the Bay Area. That is what we do. But 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 yeah, they are you know, a solid team in the making. Their coach Jessica Clinton is a very talented coach. They all play for her. She's very inspiring. So yeah, the next step for Seoul is to bump up to the Super League, and hopefully that's next season.
Awesome. Yeah, I know a ton of our fans are excited for a potential someday to kind of join the Super League with a women's team. So yeah, maybe more to come. But great that the Seoul are really representing. And like you said, like I feel like every time you see like in the Olympics or like any kind of World Cup or something, it's like half the players are always from California, from either the men's or women's team. So totally makes sense that you guys kind of have the cream of the crop out there. So perfect. Yeah. So Jonathan, anything you wanted to plug before we get out of here?
Yeah, just give us a follow at Oak Roots Blog on Twitter. We're www.oaklandrootsblog.com. You can follow me, Jonathan, JONATHAN underscore Como, COMO. And I'll do, you know, game write-ups. I post the coach interview. But the fun stuff is when we break reports, and we get a few of those during the season, but a lot after the season, you know, players coming in and all that stuff. So the off season is actually one of my most fun times.
Okay.
So I love to find those reports and break the players. So yeah, give us a follow, and yeah, really appreciate the support.
Awesome. And actually, I'm going to sneak in one last question from William.
Okay.
So kind of talking about the offseason there, as interim head coach, Gavin Clinton is currently active. Are the Roots still searching for a permanent head coach, or do we think it might become a permanent situation there with Gavin?
Well, I think it's definitely going towards that way. I think he fits the club identity. He knows what they want. He knows that Project 510, our youth team, is a primary part of this club's development and getting players up into the starting lineup, and then on to bigger and better things.
Yeah.
So I think there is a lot to go. You know, I think these last 11 games are very important for Gavin. If they suffer another winless streak that crashes them out of the playoffs, I don't think he's coming back.
Interesting. Okay.
But I think if he's shown that they can build around him, there's an energy, there's a clear energy around him. The players actually like the guy. I think just getting to the playoffs would be enough to bring him back. So still a lot to happen, but I think Gavin has shown that he can win, he can be successful, and he can, and you can build around him in this club's identity that they've been doing. So yeah, I definitely see Gavin coming back.
All right, William. So it sounds like you will be seeing him in Sacramento next year. So I don't know if that's good or bad news for you, but Well, thank you everybody for joining tonight. A ton of awesome questions in the chat, and a very, very, very special thank you to our guest Jonathan from Roots Blog. Remember, Tide Talk is more than just a podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for daily social media content. Click that link in the episode's description to follow all of our accounts. If you're not already there, join the RIFC Nation Facebook group. We actually just eclipsed 750 members there earlier this week, and it's a great place to see more RIFC content and interact with fellow fans. If you're not already using the RIFC Club Collector app, make sure you click the link in the episode description and type in the code Tide Talk, all one word, lowercase, to get a free pack to add to your collection. Thanks again for tuning in to Tide Talk. I'm your temporary host, Ryan, and as always, up the tide.